Hello, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. It's Sunday the 5th of June. You're watching 6 News. Our top stories tonight. The new Attorney General's Department begins advertising for roles for a National Anti-Corruption Commission task force, one of Labor's key election promises. But what's happening with one of their other promises about banning live sheep exports? Plus, is the gas crisis worse than you think? Fears thousands could lose their jobs, with manufacturers facing massive increases in gas prices that could force them to shut their doors. And later,
after Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Charleston, after Orlando, after Las Vegas, after Parkland, nothing has been done. This time that can't be true.
Pleas from US lawmakers as well as President Joe Biden to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines tonight continue following not only the Texas school shooting but another mass shooting at a clinic in Oklahoma. Good evening. It was a key Labor promise going into this year's election, and we are tonight seeing the early stages of progress in the push to set up a federal icac. The Attorney General's Department is advertising for several roles for a National Anti-Corruption Commission, or NACC, task force, according to a job posting on APS Jobs. Last election, there was that promise from the coalition to establish a corruption watchdog. But as we all know, that never happened. It follows data being released from the ABC earlier in the campaign that shows just 1% of people think corruption in Australia is not a problem at all. Reporter Austin Pollock has more.
The promise of a federal anti-corruption commission was certainly a major talking point for the federal election.
They used your tax dollars for their sports rorts and car park rorts. Only a Labor government will introduce an independent anti-corruption commission to stop these rorts.
And already it appears the new government is getting to work on delivering it.
We will introduce legislation for an anti-corruption commission this year.
In the 2019 election, the same promise was made by former Prime Minister Scott Morrison, which that government had failed to deliver on.
It is always important to raise the bar and maintain the bar to ensure the public can have confidence in the integrity of Commonwealth public administration.
Before taking a heavily criticised model to last month's election.
Mr Morrison, have you seen any corruption on your side of politics in your time? And if so, what did you do about it?
No, I haven't.
Is that why you don't really feel there's a need for an independent commissioner against corruption federally?
I do believe there's a need for an integrity commission.
Mark Dreyfus, the new Attorney General, who was sworn in just days ago, alongside his department, have started advertising jobs for a task force to help establish a National Anti-Corruption Commission. The task force would be providing advice to the government on how to embed, establish and design a federal anti-corruption commission. Research done by Griffith University shows that over 2/3 of the Australian population is supportive of a federal anti-corruption commission. And whether or not it does turn out to be a kangaroo court, we will have to wait and see. Austin Pollock, 6 News.
While on the subject of Labor promises, the party said they would move to ban live sheep exports, but that's not going to happen for another 3 years at the least. According to the Canberra Times, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese told ABC Radio that no one's envisioning a phase-out in this term of government, and went on to say that we'll, quote, sit down and we'll work through these issues cooperatively and respectfully. Earlier in the campaign, a Labor spokesperson said that an elected Albanese government will, quote, phase out live sheep exports in consultation with the industry and the West Australian government. Peter Dutton intervened to cancel a Defence Force plan to give Australian military bases dual English and Indigenous names. That's according to the Saturday paper, who report that the now opposition leader stepped in to reverse the plan that would have added local Indigenous language names to the current English ones. It's reported that about the same time that he did that, Dutton instructed Defence to stop pursuing a, quote, woke agenda. It comes after the Liberal leader said he was wrong to not attend Kevin Rudd's 2008 apology to the stolen generations. Well, could the gas crisis be worse than you think? There are fears that thousands could lose their jobs, with manufacturers facing massive increases in gas prices that could force them to shut their doors. Consumers may also be paying more, and the new Resources Minister Madeleine King says the price spike is a perfect storm, and it's important that coal fills the void to push energy prices down. reporter Lincoln Holmes has the details.
Just days after the new Labor cabinet was sworn in, it's already facing a tough challenge, a gas crisis.
The Albanese Labor government will take whatever action is necessary to ensure ongoing reliability and affordability for the energy markets, particularly on the East Coast.
Concerns have been raised that Aussies will be paying more, while businesses who are facing massive increases in gas prices are warning they could be forced to shut. That puts tens of thousands of jobs on the line. Power outages are feared as a cold snap continues across the East Coast, with the Energy Minister pointing the finger at the former government.
The days of knee-jerk reactions, the days of ad hoc interventions, the days of implementing ill-thought-out policies are the days of the last 9 years. They are not the days of this government.
For 9 years in government, do you accept any blame for the energy price crisis now facing manufacturers and households?
No, because the one lever that Chris Bowen hasn't been able to pull is that to pick up the phone and talk to the gas companies. That's the action that we've been able to do in the past because we had a relationship with them. We haven't demonised them, we haven't put them down. And when I hear Chris Bowen talking about he's going to talk with his state colleagues, why hasn't he reached out to the gas companies, the ones that actually drill and bring this gas up and put supply into the system?
Resources Minister Madeleine King says big gas producers were doing as much as they could to maximise supply, and it was important that coal filled the void to push energy prices down, with Labor saying they will do whatever it takes to ease pressure on families.
We will continue to take the action necessary, but we will do so in full consultation with the states and territories based on expert advice, and we will do so carefully, methodically and appropriately.
Lincoln Holmes, 6 News.
Well, for many it feels like we were already done with elections for now, but now voters in the South Australian electorate of Bragg will be heading to the polls for the third time this year. Former Deputy Premier Vicky Chapman announced she would quit politics in April, just hours after the Liberals voted on a new leadership team following the resignation of ex-Premier Stephen Marshall. Chapman was re-elected in the March state election that Labor won, with an 8.8% swing away from her. The seat in Adelaide's eastern suburbs is currently held on an 8.2% margin. The by-election will be held on July 2. 6 News will have full coverage on our website, SIXNewsAU.com. Anthony Albanese says he will live in the lodge instead of at Kirribilli House in Sydney. Speaking to the Canberra Times, he planned to lead the nation from the PM's official residence in Canberra, and says he has already moved his possessions there. It follows Scott Morrison leaving Kirribilli around 2 weeks after the election. Overseas, Myanmar will carry out its first executions in decades. Pro-democracy activists Kwao Min Yu and Pheu Zaya Thaw, an MP for the ruling National League for Democracy party, were sentenced to death by a military tribunal in January, according to the ABC. The country's military took power from the government led by Aung San Suu Kyi in February last year. The appeals to stop those executions have been dismissed, and both those people will now be executed for alleged terrorism. Pleas from US lawmakers as well as President Joe Biden to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines tonight continue following not only the Texas school shooting but another mass shooting at a clinic, this time in Oklahoma. For more on that, I caught up with our US correspondent Jackson Gosnell a little earlier.
Leo, President Biden making the case for more restrictive rules on guns in a primetime address to the nation just days ago. Now, President Biden highlighted the need for stricter background checks as well as bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. The president says the Second Amendment, which is the right that guarantees bear arms and so forth, is not absolute, as many Republicans disagree and say it is absolute. Now, here where I am in South Carolina, reaction was what you would expect from a Republican-led area. Many people very upset about President Biden's speech, and says it is the people behind the guns that are causing problems and not the guns themselves. People saying, you know, guns don't shoot themselves. Whereas if you go to another state, maybe to the north or to our west, you would hear people who are really supporting what the president is saying and declaring that assault weapons don't need to be accessible by people because they were intended for the military early on. So really mixed reaction depending on what area you're in, and it's really what you would expect too with the politics of the geographic area. According to the president, the overwhelming majority of Americans would support this. I'm not sure if I would go overwhelming majority, but I do think there is certainly a lot of people for it, but there's also a lot of people against these measures. And so I spoke with some of those who say that they don't want it to be banned, you know, those assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. They want the government to take more action when there are red flags that come up about people. For example, let's say they have a history of acting out or they have a series of mental health issues. The people who are opposing the gun control measures that are being proposed are people who think that we should focus more on mental health and things related of that nature. While, of course, people who are supporting this claim that it is the solution to this problem. Of course, we do have a lot of mass shootings here in America, and a mass shooting is defined as a shooting where 4 or more people do tragically die. So really a lot of talk on both ends, but it is important to note that not much is expected to happen because the president does not have ultimate power to make any specific law to go into effect immediately as it relates to this issue. Things need to be passed by lawmakers in both the House and the Senate before making their way to the president's desk. And with an evenly divided Senate, or a very, very divided Senate, it is unlikely that anything will really happen right now. You shouldn't look for, huge steps to occur until after we have the midterms, and even it could be until the next presidential election. So while relief is hoped for by many, it's not really in sight as of right now. Of course, I'll be sure to continue to follow the latest from here in the U.S. I'm Jackson Gosnell.
Well, as Queen Elizabeth marks 70 years on the throne, she's been congratulated by leaders all over the world, including in North Korea. Kim Jong-un reportedly sent a letter congratulating the Queen and the British people as the Platinum Jubilee celebrations continue, according to North Korea's Foreign Ministry. The two nations have established diplomatic relations more than 2 decades ago and have maintained respective embassies throughout that entire time. And that was Arvin Melly. We'll look at what's coming up later tonight on WAMN News.
Thanks, Leo. Tonight on WAMN News, monkeypox and the risk of transmission. What should Western Australians be aware of? An exclusive Q&A with Dr. Andrew Miller.
Prime Minister Albanese comes to Perth following Labor's election victory lap.
Daycare centres on notice to ensure safety after children burns incidents.
More changes to mandates on the 10th of June as cases continue to drop. And later, Dr. Mark Duncan-Smith's comment. Join us tonight on the WAMN News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
All right, thanks both Ivan and Melly then, and let's head to our senior reporter Darby Travers, who's in freezing Ballarat with a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
Good evening, Leo, from here in Ballarat, and well, a very, very cold Ballarat. Not too sure what the current temperature is, but I tell you what, it feels about 3 degrees, but very cold conditions across most parts of the country. Hope everyone has been staying warm, trying to make the most of this winter weather. Let's check in with tomorrow's weather forecast across the country now. Brisbane expecting 20 degrees and some showers. 15 partly cloudy in Sydney, starting the day at just 3 in Canberra, getting up to 7 later on in the day. 12 degrees in Melbourne with some rain expected. A chance of showers, only 10 degrees in Hobart. 12 in Adelaide, 16 in Alice Springs, fairly cold, well, by their standards. Sunny, 19 in Perth, and in Darwin, warming up a top of 32. So, Leo, enjoy that quality heating back in the studio. I'm off inside to the fireplace for now. Let's hand it back to you.
I have to say, I don't envy you there. It looks absolutely freezing in Ballarat. Not that warm here in Melbourne right now either, especially when there's no heater in the new studio. Maybe we can get some funds for a heater. Patreon.com/SIXNewsAU. Before we go tonight, recapping our top stories, and the new Attorney General's Department has begun advertising for roles for a National Anti-Corruption Commission task force, one of Labor's key election promises. But a ban on live sheep exports, one of their other promises, won't happen for at least 3 years according to the PM. And just finally, this Thursday on 6 News Spin Check, we'll look at the history of what may be a forgotten political party, Pauline's United Australia Party. We'll look at why Pauline Hanson set it up, how it went in terms of results, and we even found the man who wrote and sang an official song for the party. That's this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, or you can catch up anytime after that on our YouTube channel. And that is 6 News for this Sunday evening. You can stay up to date with all the latest headlines by heading to our website, SIXNewsAU.com, and by following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Lit. Just search 6NewsAU to find us. You can help keep us independent as well by donating just $4 a month and receive exclusive benefits. That's patreon.com/6NewsAU. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.